Alrighty, hey, welcome back to episode 2. This episode is brought to you by One Well Brewing. Let's see if we can get it in focus there. Simcorilla. That's what's bringing you this episode. I'm just kidding. They're not actually a sponsor, but I'm having one of these beers tonight. It's fantastic. Little known fact about me: I actually was quite a big craft beer fan. I still am, but I was known as a craft beer guy for a little while because I had put together this film. My company, we made a film about the Michigan craft beer scene. So I'm somewhat an aficionado of an aficionado, and but I've been out of the game a little bit over the last few years because I realized that you don't want to drink too much beer. It actually puts on a lot of weight and makes you feel like crap and not get good sleep and all sorts of adverse effects if you don't be very careful about how much you drink. And for me, there was like in the winter, I would start having one or two beers a night. And this is a quick segue. I was at the doctor one time a few years back, and they said, "Do you smoke?" And I said, "No." I feel really, proud of my answer. But he said, "Do you drink?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "How many drinks do you have every 2 weeks?" And I thought, I think the answer is actually probably like 25 to 30 beers maybe. And it was like that moment that I realized this might not be a good lifestyle decision to be making so consistently in my life. So I have beer occasionally now, but it's a lot less frequent. But as far as Kalamazoo breweries go, if you're anywhere around Kalamazoo, Michigan, I'm a big fan of One Well. I think they do a really great job both with their beer and their brand. And they have a great vibe in there. Anyone who's from Kalamazoo knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, anyway, they have nothing to do with this podcast. I wanted to give a shout out to when something's done right. That's what I'm saying. So here's what I thought it'd be fun to talk about. I want to say thank you to everybody who watched that first video. I called it episode 1. I didn't really know what I was thinking when I put it out. I just kind of wanted to put it out. And I want to introduce to the world that I'm going to start adding to the online discourse maybe to some degree. So that's what I was doing with episode 1, and I had a few wonderful people subscribe. I think we jumped up a bunch of subscribers, which is cool. It's cool to get subscribers. It feels so weird because you watch YouTube videos and everyone's always talking about smashing that like button and all that. But anyway, I want to thank everybody who commented because I really enjoy dialogue, and I think that's why I want to do this. I want to put stuff out there and then get some feedback, and then hopefully, if I'm saying something useful, that you want to respond to it and help shape my perception a little bit better. And just, I don't know, I'm missing it, so I really appreciated it. Everyone who responded, my dad, Ed, Troy, David. And then a few others that had liked the video and or messaged me privately and all that. So I really appreciate it. So anyway, for episode 2, I want to talk about something recently that happened to me that I thought was a moving experience, tying something I had happened to me in my day-to-day life, and then I don't know, maybe a deeper reflection on it. So I recently went down. Well, let me back up before I go to what I just did. So something that's maybe worth knowing that's relevant to the story is I think we all go through seasons of life where we feel, hopefully if you're like me, you've experienced a feeling where you're in your sweet spot and you're in your groove and you're just doing the thing that you think you're made to do. And everything just lines up and you feel so good in the day to day, and you feel like you're on the right path. You see something ahead of you and you just know you're going in the right direction. I felt that, and I'm thankful to say that more often than not over the last 12 years since we started our company, coming up on 12 years, I have felt most of the time like I'm in a really good place. But I would say over the last couple years, and there's all sorts of reasons for this, but over the last couple years, I've started to feel like I'm not so sure about my long-term home. I don't know what I'm made to do anymore. I used to feel so certain and so confident about it, but over the last couple of years, it just started to creep in. Like, what exactly am I good at? What skills do I have that make me unique? And I think that's it's a good question to ponder. If you have the luxury of pondering that question, I think that, I'm thankful that I'm in a place where my needs are met by my income, and I have good friendships. I have a good relationship with my wife and my kids, and there's a lot of good things. But you start asking these kind of more bigger picture existential. Am I in the right lane? Am I doing the most good with my skills? Am I being everything I can be? And these are the types of questions I ask myself a lot. And I don't know how that strikes you, if you're the type of person that asks questions like that, or you're someone who, just goes about life and feel pretty good and move along. But I've always been a person who wrestles with a lot of these big questions. So I felt over the last few years like I feel like I've lost my way a little bit of who I want to be. And for a while, it felt like I was all over the place doing a ton of different things, between directing videos, running this rapidly growing company. I was playing in a band. We were doing a lot of gigs, getting some pretty good feedback. We never really pushed it that far in terms of playing shows outside of Michigan or anything like that. We've always been pretty local, but we get a really good response. I mean, anyone who's played in a band knows what it's like when you have a good show and people at the end of the night are slapping you on the back or buying you beers, and half drunk people at the bar you've never met are just telling you how you changed their life that night and how amazing it was and all this stuff. So that's fun stuff. I mean, I love it. So anyway, I've had a lot of these little outlets, but then over the last few years I've just felt like I've kind of lost my way in terms of, we're not playing any shows. I'm not writing a lot of music, or I'm not finishing a lot of songs, I should say, because I've been writing songs. I've been writing concepts. I've been writing bits and pieces of music, and I've had concepts, but I'm not really doing anything with it. We're not playing any shows live, and I'm not of any sort of I'm not under any grand delusion that me and music have any sort of like financial merrymaking that's gonna happen. For me, music is totally a fun, creative and life-giving outlet. I wish more people felt comfortable playing music. I'm actually really proud of the fact that I'm not a very good musician. I'm not a very good singer. Anyone who's heard me live knows I'm not really. I'm much more like a Tom Waits or a Bob Dylan voice than a voice of an angel, a Perry Como. Anyway, so I don't know why I said that, Perry Como, but I'm no Dean Martin. My mom would love that. She loves Dean Martin. Anyway, so though I am Italian, anyway, I wish more people would have the courage to sing and play music and write songs, even though they don't think of themselves as a good singer, because it's such a freeing, life-changing experience to share something that's inside of you in a musical way. And I think for me, just to put it really simply, I want to be the type of person that writes music and performs, even if it's a little coffee shop or a little club. I want to be doing that when I'm 70 years old. I just think that's cool. And I think that people have something to say, and if they can find ways to say it that are meaningful, and that people can connect with in an artistic way, then that is good stuff. So I'll get to the point though. So over the last couple of years, it just feels like I've kind of drifted a little bit in who I am and all this stuff. And so one thing that was cool that I didn't expect it to, was an unexpected like pull back in who you are and like have some good time to think. But my wife and I recently went down to Franklin, Tennessee, which is, just south of Nashville. And so I really wasn't thinking much of it. I honestly, we've been talking little bits here and there about other parts of the country that we'd ever, be interested in moving. And, there's some of the big ones come up, but, Nashville was on the list, but it wasn't like, oh man, we need to move to Nashville. I really don't think it'll probably happen. I'm a lot of ways content with where we live now. But, anyway, we went down to Franklin, Tennessee, and it's a lovely little town. Very, very quaint, very, picturesque Hallmark movie kind of town. Which I'm from a very small town, which really has very little going for it in terms of economic development or like people investing in the community and things like that. It's just one of those kind of small towns that's drying up, and it's sad, but And I hope something happens with it. I mean, I'm not negative about it, but anyway, so Franklin's this really nice suburb of Nashville, I guess. And one of the things that my wife and I did, it's so funny. I can't believe I forgot this, but I am probably one of the biggest Johnny Cash fans on earth. Now, I'm probably not in the top 20 of them, but of percentile, I'm in the 99 percentile of fans of Johnny Cash. I have read all the books he's ever written, minus his book about the Apostle Paul. I didn't finish it. I read a few chapters, but I've read his biographies. I've read his autobiographies. I've read his biography. I have lots of different little collections of his work, and so I'm a big Johnny Cash fan. But believe it or not, we went down to Nashville, my wife and I, and it wasn't even on my radar to go visit his home or go to the museum or any of that stuff. I just wasn't even thinking about it. And that could just be that I've been busy and I wasn't putting in the proper mental energy to plan for a trip like that. But we ended up stumbling across, we didn't have much of an agenda. And my wife said, "What do you want to do tomorrow?" And I was like thinking through it, and I thought, you know what? I'm pretty sure you can drive right by Johnny Cash's home on the river that's in Hendersonville. I'm pretty sure somebody bought it, and they've actually been trying to keep it. I know for a while the Barry Gibb or whoever from the Bee Gees bought it back in 2006 or something. But anyway, I was like, we should go drive by that. That'd be fun. I'd love to just cruise up there. I don't care if it's an hour drive. So we drove all the way from Franklin to Hendersonville, which was like 45 minutes, around traffic and all that. But it got me back in that mindset. And then we were heading back towards Nashville, and I was like, can we go to the museum, the Johnny Cash Museum? And because I forgot that was a thing, but then I was like, yeah, there's a Johnny Cash Museum there. Yeah. So my wife and I went there, and she was so happy. She was so thrilled I was, wanting to go. And it was kind of my birthday weekend, so she was looking for opportunities for me to do fun things. But we went to the Johnny Cash Museum, and what hit me was this quote by Bob Dylan that's on the wall in there. And I'm going to read the quote. So there's a lot of artifacts and, old guitars and amplifiers and costumes of his and all this stuff. But there's a quote by Bob Dylan. And number one, how cool is it that Bob Dylan, can write poetry like this? It's not a song. It's not an actual poem. It's just something he said about the man that made it onto a placard in the museum. It's pretty cool. But what he said was this: in plain terms, Johnny was and is the North Star. You could guide your ship by him, the greatest of the greats then and now. Truly, he is what the land and country is all about, the heart and soul of it personified and what it means to be here. And he said it all in plain English. I think we can have recollections of him, but we can't define him any more than we can define a fountain of truth, light, and beauty. So that's kind of high level, poetic framing of a man. But I had this realization lately that, man, you know what? Johnny Cash is like a North Star in my life. As cheesy as that sounds, I don't know what that sounds like. You know what? I don't even care. But Johnny Cash is like a North Star in my life because there's so much about his life and journey that I love reading about. I love hearing about his creative journey, his ups and downs, obviously with substance abuse, and there's tons of reasons. Like, he perfectly embodies that sinner saint dichotomy that's so like core to country music and like folk music and roots music and all that. And I love how he was able to avoid being pigeonholed ever as anything other than a human being who cared about telling stories and lifting up people, and I'll do another video about Johnny Cash at some point. I don't want to go in the deepest, but I just think what it brought me to is it's good to have North Stars in life. And this wording is a little weird because I think some of my Christian friends, and I'm a Christian, but some of my friends might kind of lift their eyebrows at this, because some people you talk to, it's kind of like you shouldn't have any North Stars outside of someone who's in the Bible. And I'm really sympathetic to that view. I don't want to sound like I disagree in some ways. Like, I feel caught in the middle on a lot of things a lot of times where the folks, the people in my life who are spiritual Christians or whatever, have real specific views about how things should go down. And then I have people in my life who, whatever they are, they're not Christian or they're against it. And that would bother them to hear me say that like someone might think that, if it's outside of the Bible, it's wrong. But I'm not trying to say anything about that, or to say, like, for me, the way I'm attracted to the humanity that I see in a person like Johnny Cash. And obviously I'm looking at all the different facets of who he was, this mythical figure, the real person, him on a good day versus him on a bad day. It's very clear in his books, in his biography, I think by Robert Hilburn is his name. He struggled with alcoholism almost to the very end. And if you watch Walk the Line, you think that after he got together with June, everything was just hunky-dory and they, never any problems. That's not true at all. So, anyway, I'm not worshiping him. I'm not idolizing him, but I do look at certain people as a model for something I find interesting and beautiful about the human journey and the human experience, especially knowing that he was someone of a man of great faith and put that faith in action with a lot of his music and his work here on earth and all that. So I just want to say that to me, and then so here's what was a cool connecting point. I'll say this. My brother-in-law, we about 10 years ago, we were big fans of Need to Breathe. And I wouldn't say I'm not a fan now, but I've kind of fallen out of touch with what they're doing. But he and I used to both really love a few of their albums. And I was listening to a mix on Spotify, and one of their songs came up from back in those days, and it was the one about the father was a preacher or something like that. And it was a kind of a spiritual, gospel-y sounding song. And I like to do this thing where if I hear one, if I can share something I'm thinking about or feeling, I will share it in a text. I'll call them. I'll take a screenshot, whatever. I'll send the link and I'll go, this makes me think of you, or I might just send it and not say anything. And I'm sure other people do this, but it's just something I like to do a lot. And he said, I sent him that song and I didn't say anything, I don't think. And he said, nah, it's one of the best albums or something. And I just thought, it's good to have North Stars in your life. And a North Star can be a human being, but a North Star can be a song. A North Star can be a bit of poetry, a piece of artwork. It can be a book, literature. I think a North Star for people is important, especially when you can look at who you are right now and honestly assess the things you're doing or who you're becoming. But then that North Star gives you focus and gives you direction. And I realize the concept of North Star is not novel, and I'm literally talking about something so like archetypal maybe, but I don't know. For me, I just wanted to share with you guys that if you feel lost at all, I guess I'll wrap it up like this. If you feel lost at all in life and you're not sure what you're thinking about, try to think about what could be those North Stars, and maybe clip it out and put it on your wall, like help organize your thoughts. And I'll just say for me, this Johnny Cash thing has been good because I kind of I needed that. And I'm really glad my wife and I were able to come down there and see the museum. And I think that I'm kind of working on like a North Star list for me right now. Almost in some way, I've even thought, like, if I had a Mount Rushmore of people that I am influenced by in a positive way, I wonder who would be on that Mount Rushmore. Pretty sure Johnny Cash would make the list. But yeah, this has been a long video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm trying to make these quick. I don't want to bore you guys. I do want to share from the heart, though. I'm never going to try to cut it down just to be zippy and snappy. But for me, let me know. I guess what I'd love to know, might be some good dialogue, is if you've ever experienced this, if you've ever felt like you have lost your way in the sense of like where you're aiming at in life, and who your North Star is. If you got a handful, if you got like I said, a song, what is it that brings you back to home and centers you, helps you remember who you are, who you want to be, and that you can reflect on. So I'd love to hear that from you. Leave me a comment. Let me know if this is meaningful to you. If you know anyone who loves Johnny Cash, tell them to follow this channel, because I'm going to be talking about that a lot. And hopefully it's useful to you. So I appreciate it. One more time, I just want to say thank you to OneWell making this fantastic, delicious beverage, and enjoy responsibly. And they have no affiliation with this. If you don't like this, don't go hate on OneWell. This is purely I like this beer. So have a great night, and talk to you guys soon on the next episode.